All right, welcome everybody to Cycle Jerks podcast. I'm your host, Mike Stewart. I'm hosting today from Oahu, which it's a marvel of technology that we have. Thankfully, everything's working, so that's cool. And joined as always by my trusty, friendly, congenial co-host, Dave Dalton. Dave, how are you?
Zoom challenge co-host Dave. Yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Dave had a hard time connecting today for some reason. We're going to call it a
Yeah,
senior moment.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Qualify. I qualify.
today we're joined by somebody I've known for a little bit here, and he's a big professional cyclist in the Sacramento area. Cody Kaiser is joining us on the podcast. Cody, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you all. Thanks for hosting. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's I've been doing a little bit because we've kind of known each other a little bit, but on surface level. And you've got a lot of stuff online about you. So I've been doing a little bit of research about you. And
Stalker.
yeah,
Stalker.
yeah, kind of. So you were born in Texas and then you moved to California. So can you talk about that? How long were you in Texas?
Not many years. I grew up a California kid for sure.
Oh, okay.
But so I still got Texas in my blood. So yep.
Is
It
it
Yeah,
does
true
shine
that if you
through.
ain't, if is it true that if you ain't Texas, you ain't shit? That's what I've heard.
I've heard a few different, Texas jokes. So is
Uh-huh.
it true there's only two things that come from Texas? That's another good one too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a few, but no, it's a cool spot. If I ever when I do get back to see family and stuff, it's a great state, and from Houston, so it's a great city and fun town. But California is where it's at.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Cool.
I certainly think so. I love it in California, but I do have my neighbor for a couple of years ago. I mean, we're probably going back 10 years now, but we had this cool couple, young couple moved in next door to me. The guy worked at PayPal and uh, just really cool, sharp guy, got him into cycling and everything. And but he was from Austin.
Yep.
And I used to call him Mayor of Austin because he would never stop talking about how great Austin was. And yet he was living in California. I go, hey, man, California's pretty great too. And he's like, yeah, man, I don't know. Austin, dude, he just wouldn't shut up about Austin. And then a few years go by, he moves back to Austin. So we lost him. Yeah.
Well, there's two different types of Texas. There's Austin, and then there's the rest of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
Right. Right.
yeah,
Austin's
Austin's a
probably
cool
more
town
like
too, but
California. Austin's probably more like California than it is Texas, right?
that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
more liberal, right? My understanding is that it's surrounded, it's a blue, let's just call it a blue area surrounded by red. And
Oh
so
yeah.
it kind of it's a good checks and balance system, keeps everybody in. And
Yep.
that's my understanding anyway. But
Yeah, it's
Probably,
yeah,
got all it's
probably
got all the arts and everything, and it's a blast, and it's got the fun scene, all the
hmm
cool neon signs, and yeah, it's got the culture.
less pairs of Wrangler jeans.
I'll probably still equal amounts.
hmm yeah, yeah. Okay, so when did you come to California? How old were you?
Oh, 1995. So I was on three. Yeah.
Okay,
So I grew up a California kid.
yeah. And what brought you to California? Your folks was a change of work or
Yeah. So my parents were in the golf industry for 35 years, and my dad was a head teaching professional and would be GMs at a lot of country clubs across the country, from
oh
Florida, Louisiana, Texas, and then they brought him out to California to open up a country club out here, and got in that got in the golf board. The golf board brought him out here, and then things sort of changed. And years later, after I was already into bike racing, we got into the bike shop world too. So yeah, came out from there for work, or for work, family stuff.
Okay,
okay.
so my wife's family grew up as a golf course superintendent, and so much of that family has taken this turn into golf. My brother-in-law works for the USGA and all that. How did you take this? How did you veer not get sucked into golf and end up on bikes?
Oh, I mean, pretty early on. remember everybody would ask me, like, oh, you're gonna be, be the next, pro tour player. And I was like, no, I'm gonna be a bike racer, and they were always perturbed by that and little pipsqueak running around the country club. But yeah, I just was always into bikes. There was a guy that worked for my dad that would commute to work, rode, um, rode, nice bikes, not just the average commuter. And I remember this really cool, like Cannondale. It was black and orange, and it just like I couldn't believe he rode to work. And I was like, what? And
Yeah.
that kind of got me hooked. We went mountain biking to a local spot out here, Granite Bay. Not long after that, he took me out, and like just the dirt in the woods, and like I couldn't believe that was right in our backyard. And yeah, it was awesome. And then I got hooked, and that was all she wrote. I'm into bikes, and we're off and running.
Yeah. Well, it's a good
Lucky
life.
you.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of money in
Better
golf.
than golf.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
There's
well,
a lot of money in golf, right?
sometimes I joke now as an adult, I wouldn't change anything, but I'm like, damn, I should have stuck with golf. Like doing this bike racing thing for.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to make a living as a bike racer. It's
Yeah.
possible. It's possible, but it's very challenging. So
Yeah.
Now, you said we got into bikes. Is this you, or is this a family business?
It's a family business. Yeah. So my
Ah,
dad and I, yeah, we opened the store. When we opened up 2008, we opened the bike shop. So yes.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
All
Family business.
So when you first got into bike racing, what was it that you were into? Was it BMX, or did you just start with cross, or how did you get into it?
Started out on mountain bikes.
Mountain bikes.
Quickly found cross, but started out on mountain bikes. Yeah,
Okay.
would race all the races across NorCal, and then just tried it all. Did road, did gravel, or we didn't have gravel back then, but did road, did cross, and really took love to cross. Obviously, I'm sure we'll probably get to, but yeah, always on the dirt is my thing. I raced a lot of road, never really liked it. Did well, but just never stoked my fire.
Hmm.
You lost Mike's interest when you didn't say BMX. You know that, right? You just
I do. I do. I cannot ride a 20-inch. Can't ride the small wheels. Feel like I'm
Well,
gonna kill myself.
you more than make up for it on the big wheels. Let's just go
Yeah.
say that. Yeah, I don't ride the little wheels anymore either. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a fun time of my life, that's for sure.
So, two questions. So I'm curious. So you made that leap. What took you off the mountain and into cross? Was it just because it both had dirt, or
Oh yeah, just exposure. I think as a little kid, just the exposure of doing all the races, and they weren't parallel seasons, and so you're able to do both of them. But as I got older, I sure gravitated towards focusing on cross. I'd race all summer long, but would always really anticipate and look forward to winter time.
Hmm.
So another my part two of that question, and this is just ignorance, so don't laugh at me. But like, I opened a bike shop in 2016, and my mechanic Dan Hepner was really into cyclocross, and I don't know that I'd ever heard or seen the sport before. And then he talked me into buying a cyclocross bike, and I talked my wife into allowing me to buy a cyclocross bike, and I sort of got hooked too. But how big was the scene going that far back? I mean, it's.
It was bigger than it is now, without
Mhm.
a doubt, and it was in its prime, I would say, in NorCal, especially probably in the first like 5 to 8 years of me getting into it. It was huge. We had races all across the Bay Area. We had a San Francisco series, a Santa Cruz, two Santa Cruz series, Sacramento series. I mean, we were racing. All of us, growing up, were racing both days on the weekends, and on the occasion it'd be one day a weekend. But yeah, you could race a lot as a
Wow.
kid growing up around here. It was not hard to get to races and have good attendance, good competition. Now, it's kind of in the dumps right now, but yeah, it was very good and easy access.
It is interesting because we've had a bunch of different guests that have talked about the challenges of we had a race promoter on from Velo Promo.
Mhm.
And he was saying that they can't get people to turn up for road races, and the cross numbers are down. Um, but there's so many different avenues. If you're a bike racer, it's like, do you want to go ride the gravel race, or do you want to do the road race, or do you want to do the cross race? So it is. I think it's just been kind of broken apart. I think gravel has kind of caught a lot of people that
Cannibalized.
otherwise would race cross, because it's not the same, not even close, but it is similar, and I think it appeals to a similar type of person. And so yeah, it's hard. It's hard with, I know, like I was in the business of putting on charity. I did these these charity mountain bike races we did 7 of them, 7 years in a row. And it was so hard to pick a date. And we would pick a date like almost a full year in advance, because we were at the events were at North Star. And then like Red Bull would announce a date like 60 days before the event. And it would be on the same day as our event, just stuff like that happens. So it is really hard. If you're a cyclist and you want to race and you're into whatever, there's just so much competition every single weekend. Like, what am I going to do this, or am I going to do that? And the end, I think everybody kind of struggles to get enough people, although it seems like gravel is kind of winning out. The gravel events still tend to sell out and they have big attendance, whereas some of the other events aren't so much.
Yeah, it's kind of the marathon of cycling right now, and it's the same course for everybody. It's the same challenge for everybody, the same start time for everybody, and so it's drawing those types of cyclists. Because I mean, at the pro level, we're all racing like whatever. Everybody in the gravel scene right now is probably come from another background of racing and discipline.
Yeah.
There's a few new like gravel only pros, but for the most part, they're all mountain bikers or road guys that convert. But I see as well, one is a in the shop here as well, but and then out just paying attention to the amateurs. There's a whole new group of cyclists competing, and so whether they're new to riding in general or just new to competing, it's not the same people that go to the road races or go to the mountain bike races. It's a whole different category. I think that's where the appeal is, and it's kind of booming. And then you get into the later parts of the year and people are tired, kind of filled up from February to whenever of their competition fulfillment, and then they just kind of kick it across.
Yeah.
But
well, I've had this
I
experience.
think
Oh, go ahead, Dave.
gravel kind of has to pay homage to cross, though, because that was, for me, that was part of the appeal when I took it up. Like half the fun was the race, but half the fun was the vibe,
Yep.
and that's one of the thing that's drawn me to gravel as well. It's just, I mean, my wife, I could count on one hand the number of times she came and watched me in a road race, right? But she came and watched me all the time at gravel because there was something to see and there was just a vibe going on, and
Yep.
same thing with gravel, right?
The only thing is that when you get done with the cross race, you can still enjoy the rest of the day. When you finish up 7 hours on these damn gravel races, you can't stand practically.
Yeah, you're
Smoked.
knackered. Definitely knackered.
Yeah. Yeah. It is interesting because I think the spirit of it is pretty similar in that you're on the skinny wheeled bike that's not ideal for what you're doing. Well, I shouldn't say that with gravel, especially, but I do feel like the spirit of it is like, what can you get away with on a cross bike or a gravel bike? I think that's part of the appeal too. But we had last week we had Anna Hicks on, and then going back a few months we had Carl Decker on, and both of them had talked about these shorter events. Like gravel seems to be going down this road of everything's just getting gnarlier, harder, longer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And Carl was like, he goes, man, I miss like a good 25-mile race. He's like, that's where the fast people are,
Yep. Yeah, that was always
and
that was always my specialty too. And now I do these big things and I suck at them.
right. Yeah, I don't know about that, but Carl said, and I think it's a good point. It's like for 100, let's just say 125-mile, just use some arbitrary number, and loads of climbing, let's say more than 10,000 feet. It kind of gets into who. Certainly your fitness matters, but it's like who manages their nutrition the best is the one who has a good chance of winning these events. Whereas a 25-mile race, all bets are off. It's like whoever's the fastest, theoretically that person has the best chance of winning that event, unless they have a crash or something. Whereas, these longer events, I don't know. I like the longer event because I'm slow. I'm old and slow now. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah. I mean,
longer it goes, the better shot I got at, something.
yeah. I mean, there's plenty of speed in gravel racing, but Carl's right with like the fast guys are in the short stuff. And yeah, I mean, when I was getting into racing, Carl was doing all of the cross races, all the mountain bike races, and then I ended up starting to, get to race against him, and we got to be pretty good buddies. And yeah, he's on the same page. We've talked similar styles a lot, and yeah, he was always fun to race against. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he's quite a character.
Oh yeah.
So who are the big names? I mean, because even Carl's gone and done some gravel. Who are the big names of cross these days?
So our multi-time champ currently, his name's Eric Bruner, out of Colorado. You have Curtis White, and then a young kid out of, I want to say DC, DC, Philly, somewhere that mid-Atlantic area, Andrew Strohmeyer. Those are the three that we sent to Worlds for the elite men this year. Lance Hated is a top contender if he races a little bit. Tobin's a top contender. Yeah, yep.
Does Lance does he not really focus on cross? I know
You really can't, because that Lifetime series goes into October, and
right.
so I think as much as I would say a kid like Lance, like Tobin, myself, we always kind of thought are cross kids, and it was always come August you start focusing on that. September, races are here, and then October, November, December, it's hitting it hard. So if you're doing a 120-mile race in the end of October, like you can't be doing cross stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is cross still, like you said, it's kind of in a low point here? Would you say that that's the same? You mentioned a kid from DC. Would you say it's the same thing happening on the East Coast? Because I know it was
It
a bigger deal. So is it in the shitter there too?
Yeah, it is. So last year was when I kind of decided that I'd had enough of it. So the scene starts Virginia, Rochester. Just in the past couple of years, this has been the main circuit, is like Virginia, Rochester, New York, Baltimore, Indy. So it's kind of all across the East Coast. We don't have much racing out here anymore. Um, it's all Ohio and East, and it's the same out there. For me growing up racing, and even when it was in its big time, I'd say going into 2020 basically was cruising. You'd have massive attendance, big trucks and trailers at all the events, big teams, big sponsors. It was alive and well. And then when I went back this past year to racing, it was like a couple of guys in minivans and not a whole lot in the occasional sprinter van. The scene is like very, very small, and it's kind of disappointing. And like I have such passion for it, but the whole like vibe and size and infrastructure at these races is, I mean, 90% less than what it used to be. And the promoters that are putting them on are putting in major effort, but it's different. It's kind of funky. And I don't mean anything bad by what I say, but it kind of needs to like have sort of like the death, and then maybe rebirth will bring it back. Because it's not what it was 10 years ago. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting. I remember when I first got on with Cannondale was like I want to say like 97. That was a long time ago. But that was the era when all the automakers were on board with cycling.
Oh, yeah.
And you had Toyota Schwinn, you had Subaru, whatever, you had Cannondale, Volvo, all these companies, GT had Acura, and there was just big money at all the events, and it was awesome. Like Sea Otter was just crazy. He had these huge automotive displays all over the place, and everybody that was an athlete was driving one of these cars. If you raced for Cannondale, you drove a Volvo, and it was provided for you. And same with GT and all these other companies. So, it's just kind of a shame to see how that's kind of been, they've definitely retracted the automotive industry, and I think that they still benefit greatly. Like they're used cycling in the marketing all the time. You see them commercials with people with the bikes on the back or on the top of their SUV or whatever. And so they're still kind of getting the affiliation with the sport, but they aren't participating in the sport anymore. It's really kind of a bummer.
Yeah. I
It's really
mean,
big.
we would have, I race for Specialized, and so we would have a tractor trailer. I mean, it was a 30-foot, 50-foot trailer. I don't even know how big it was, but pulling behind a big rig, practically going to the events. Cannondale had a 60-foot trailer for Cyclocross World, and sometimes SRAM would bring out their mega rig. It's like they had these big productions and tents and everything, to
Yeah,
build excitement and hype and kind of make it like NASCAR or whatever. And that's what people want to see too. And so if that's not happening, then the rest doesn't happen too, and it kind of falls by the wayside. So
yeah. Yeah, so when let's talk about your relationship with Specialized for a while, because as long as I've ever known you, you've been riding Specialized, and I know you had that shop, um,
mhm.
and it's a Specialized concept store, right? Kinetic Cycles.
Yeah, we well, yeah, on the shop side, the concept store thing doesn't quite really exist anymore, but yeah, that's how we opened up. And we sell predominantly Specialized. We sell boots and a couple other small brands there.
Oh, okay.
I've only raced for Specialized the entirety of my career, which is pretty freaking sweet. I got to stick with the same big three. I mean, I think the ones that everybody wants to race for is Specialized, SRAM, and Zip. And so I got on board with them when I was 17 with the team called California Giant Berry Farms out of Watsonville, and I was their development rider as a young kid. Got with them, and then progressed through their whole program, and then wanted to think I wouldn't take credit for it, but I think I maybe was one of the first to do the whole like individual racer thing, and so I wanted to stick with those three brands. I wanted to keep racing them. I always loved them, and so I made my own team going into my first year as an elite man, and paired up with the winery here in Lodi, and was able to get Specialized, able to keep SRAM, able to keep Zip on board, and for all my racing, I've always used the same stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's really pretty unheard of.
Mhm.
You know,
Well, props to you and props to them, right? There isn't, you don't see the loyalty anymore. It's like, what's the highest bidder? So
Yeah.
it's awesome that you're that loyal, but then that, they're reciprocating too. So that's good.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate to have um I think some of the best homies I had in the industry always had my back at the companies too. And so we're able to do some cool stuff. And I'm almost kind of, sneak through the usual like athlete marketing and that world. And they kind of like kept me to the side and we did some fun stuff. So I was fortunate to be able to have a few friends in different places that would allow me to do,
Yeah.
stay
yeah.
on board with them.
Yeah, that's really cool. The That's one of the things that I've always kind of like before coming to Giant, the I've been with the company now 22 years. But Lanoski had just a tremendous run with us, Carl and Adam.
Mhm.
I think we've done I mean, guys do come and go for sure, but
Yep.
there is a good stable of examples of loyalty on both sides, and that's something
It's
that,
funny. It's funny that you say that too, because when I was getting into it, and all my idols all have been in the same kind of type that you are, and then you look at
Mhm.
today's athlete, and they're jumping, all the time. But like, I mean, growing up, Adam and Carl were big idols. They were always on Giant, probably, still considered Giant. And then
Yeah,
Trebone and Wicks and Kona, they stayed with them for forever.
right,
Barry still is. And then Tim Johnson and Cannondale, and so like those guys were all, they always stuck with everything. So.
right.
It's funny how maybe the athlete has changed too. Maybe we're not doing things the right way like we used to.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, we had Anna on last week, and she was talking about being a privateer.
Mhm.
So, is that technically what your setup is? Because you're not like full factory or whatever you want to call it, right? You have the flexibility to keep the zip wheels. You don't have to run Revolve or whatever. Not that you wouldn't run Revolve, but you have
Yep.
this relationship, so they honor that. And so, are you under that privateer umbrella also?
Yeah, well, I always like the privateer thing. I felt like we kind of shot ourselves in the foot with, but you always had those big factory teams, and you had like everybody running the exact same program,
Yep.
exact same product, like uh a bike brand is the title sponsor. And then you always had guys that had the secondary teams where it would be, say even like a Cow Giant or something. And we weren't secondary, we were big, but just other, not so much factory. And then you had people that would just race individually. And I would say that when I made my own program, I went to I stayed in that like secondary tier. Like I had these large sponsors and I had like ease of doing everything in the bike world. I sometimes think the privateers are always like just, scratching to get whatever they can. So I felt good that I was, maybe not I don't think I was a privateer, but I had all the support I needed, but I did run a one-man show. So yeah.
So you were the team with the winery, or did you have other riders with you?
No, yeah, one-man show, just me. It's what I wanted. Easier. I had come from a team that had a lot of different personalities and also male and female racers and age spreads. We had development to adult, and I was like, man, I'm kind of over all this headache. I'm over, having to, appease somebody, and I want to be my own boss. And so, yeah, one man team. I ran the whole thing. It was hard because I was the manager. I was like, the travel agent. I was the, trying to sell myself to sponsors and get funding and all that. It was interesting business venture, but did it. Ran the team for 8 seasons. So I mean, one of the longest, I would say, longest running programs that was out there as well. Once I left Cal Giant, so
I can imagine, because I when I started racing, it's a Cat 5 to a Cat 4. I mean, I remember Cal Giant was the team. Like that was like if they showed up, you just went, oh fuck, right? Because they always, because they were always in numbers, and it didn't matter what category you were in. All of a sudden, there's 5 of them and you on your team, and so that was like, okay, I'm just gonna mark them. But I can imagine with that comes headaches, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was awesome being a part of the team and all the guys, and just there's some characters. And then you had the road side and you had the cross side, and we were like the black sheep in the dirt kind of thing. But racing on the road with them was fun too. But yeah, it was there's some studs that came through that program for sure.
Yeah. I always had this when that was happening, I was actually the rep for the peninsula. So I wasn't doing the territory I'm doing now. I was doing right along the coast there. And I wanted to be, it just seemed like it made sense. It might be a little confusing because it's giant strawberry, but I thought it would be cool if I could get everybody ride on a Cal Giant riding giants, and we got close, but Specialized would always outbid us at the end of the day, is kind of what happened. But yeah, it wasn't for lack of effort. Definitely wanted to be a part of that.
We always got that assumption too. Like, oh, you guys race on giant. It's like, no, we race on Specialized, but Cow Giant Berry. It was always funny to describe it.
Right. Yeah. It's confusing both ways, just because even if you were on giant, it'd be like, well, no, giant strawberry is the spot. But yeah, giant does provide it would be a lot to explain, but
stick to sales, Mike. Stick to sales.
Yeah. So Anna was explaining, like, to your point, Anna explained that she actually hired an agent, and he's been doing a lot of this stuff. And so, I got to think, like, maybe you laid the groundwork for this type of thing. I mean, going back 8 years, I don't know how many privateers there were. And certainly your program was super unique, keeping those big 3 companies. Did you ever consider like hiring an agent to handle it, or was, no?
No, I never felt like I was at a capacity where I couldn't handle it. I'd always bounce things off my dad. He's a great business guy. And so I would, hey, proofread this, or, what do you think about making this move? And then he'd kind of nudge me one way or another, but I didn't think I ever needed a person to handle it. And that can be difficult, if the person that, the racer will say, if they're not a super confident in themselves to sell, type of a person, then it's going to be very hard, and you're not going to be able to get through to people or even have communication skills and know what to say and what they're looking for. That can be difficult. And so if you need that is it's a very worthwhile thing. But yeah, I didn't think I ever needed it.
Yeah. It is just a lot to juggle, when you're trying to stay on that at the highest level of competition. There's only so
Yep.
many hours in the day, and like paperwork and hitting the
Yeah.
phones,
Yeah. I mean, I
that's
can't tell you the number of times I showed up somewhere and didn't have a rental car or forgot to book this or book that. And so you just got to roll with the punches. And two, like cyclists are pretty high strung people and I'm
yeah,
not. And so I could roll with it where that could probably break a lot of people. I know it would break a lot of people. So
yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
oh shit, all right, we'll figure this out.
Yeah,
I
I
remember
had
one time I
this.
didn't get a rental car in Baltimore and I was like, oh, I'll just book one on the plane and everything was sold out. And so I had to Uber to get a U-Haul, and then I U-Hauled this rental van for the whole weekend. But then they closed like before or they weren't open by the time I had to leave, and so then I had to drop the keys the night before, Uber back, and then Uber to the airport. And I was like doing this. They probably break most people,
All right,
and I'm just
right.
laughing the whole time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's an asset, right? To keep cool under fire. I used to coach
Yep.
baseball, and I had this whole philosophy where I wanted every kid on the team to pitch, because that's like that's a big moment for a kid to get up on the mound and like try to get people out, And uh, some kids have, in baseball they call it makeup, right? The pitcher has to have this certain type of makeup, and they can't get too high or too low, And it sounds like that's kind of the way you approach a lot of your logistics.
Yeah.
So it is what
Yeah.
it is. Let's figure it out.
Cool.
We get
Cool.
through it.
Exactly. Cool. Cool under pressure.
Yeah. I used to call it cool
So,
breeze.
Yep.
Yeah.
so backing up, I'm going to ask a question I doubt we know that there's even an answer to, but it's frustrating as I'm watching. I'm finally getting around to watching the Walta.
Oh, way to go, Dave.
Yeah, but don't spoil it. But you watch the tour and the place is nuts. People are lining the street and waving flags and making days of it. And then you watch the cross races over there, the championships. And obviously they got some real big stars over there. But there's people standing out in it's snowing or it's raining and they're standing in, ankle deep in mud watching these races. And there's just that passion from the spectator that you just don't get here. And I don't know if you know the answer, but I mean, it's one thing, I guess, in to watch the tour. You walk out your front door, they're coming by at a certain time, so you walk out the door and they go through your town. But to actually get in your car to go watch a cross race in somewhere in Europe, and it's freezing cold, and you're watching these guys slog through the mud, and you're standing there in the mud. I mean, I don't why there and not here. I just don't. It's frustrating.
Oh, it's in their culture there. Cycling is a huge, huge sport all across Europe, and it's not a huge sport here. They don't have the exposure for the youth, to get into it and sort of
Yeah.
build that excitement. Um, and then like over there, I mean, I know some of the cross side of things, and the races are parties. I mean, there's massive disco tents, and they got the food and beer, and everybody's having a great time, and it's an all day thing. Like going to a football game here, they tailgate before the race. They wear their favorite riders, colors, flags, all that. And so it's just a different culture, and the excitement for the fan is there. The excitement for the fan isn't there here in the US. It kind of was a little bit, but bike racing is, I would say, halfway boring to watch here.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
listen.
maybe you just nailed it though. The youth development programs, like if you read any one of these guys' autobiographies, right? Like they started at 11 and they moved to Italy at 14 to be on the MAPE development team and stuff. And it's just the one youth development team out here that I was aware of, Tiana Duro, I don't think exists anymore,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they do either. I raced against those kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when I got into racing, um, there were in Northern California countless development programs. I raced out of Sacramento, Sacramento Golden Wheelman, SUW had a kids development team. Then, Team Spine was a big one. Team Swift, I think she's actually still
Oh
running the
yeah.
program.
Yeah.
Tiani Duro. And then moving down the coast, you had some more that I can't think of, but there were like huge groups. Davis Bike Club had a massive kids program. And so they were like, there's plenty of that. And that's unfortunately not a thing now. We have the NICA races, but I don't think that that's the same thing as what
Mhm.
this, I think the NICA program is cool. I have some opinions of it, doesn't matter, but it's not the same as bike racing. And so what we had for a while getting the youth into it was pretty big.
Yeah. I mean, I think Nike, when I first started going to Sea Otter, the 18 and under category was almost non-existent, you know.
Mhm.
And now you go to Sea Otter and it's huge, right?
Yep.
Because of NICA. So it has brought a lot more people. I understand what you're saying about some of the races and how they run the races. They're, you know, I think there's a lot of being attached to the school district does dictate a lot of the decisions that they have to make. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, they're not the most challenging courses, but they do, it does cultivate like this, a race, it is a racing culture and it is a focus on fitness. And, um, I know like we had a team out of Pleasanton for a while that I was involved in. And it was cool because the kids that were on the team, you don't really get the athletes for NICA because it's
Mhm.
hard. By the time you get to high school, they're already captured by football, basketball, and baseball. So
Yep.
you end up getting the band kids, you get these kids that otherwise just don't quite fit in with the jocks at the school. And
Yep.
and in many cases, it's the first time they've ever really done much athletically. And to see that, to be involved with that and then see them turn into an athlete is pretty cool, and to
Yeah.
learn, the importance of taking care of yourself, getting proper sleep, eating properly, all these things that as an athlete you have to do. To see these kids, we had a thing at the end of at one of the seasons, and the one of the dads was like getting really emotional with me. He's like, I don't know what you did, but my kid, he goes to bed early, he eats oatmeal, and he's getting his homework done so he could go ride his bike. And he's like, this has been transformative for him, just in terms of how he's running his life. And
Yep.
so that was really cool, as someone who coached baseball for a lot of years and listened to parents complain at the end of the year,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah, my kid didn't play enough. My kid
yeah,
didn't get
right.
enough innings.
My kid needed to pitch every game. You didn't let
Yep.
him. Yeah, no, but
They do they do get kids on bikes. That's a great thing that they got. And
yeah,
yeah, that's I would almost say that's their goal, and they're doing a winning job at it. It's
yeah,
just yeah, on the bike racer side, on the pro athlete side, it's not there to do that.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's got to start somewhere. It's a door that opens, and then from that point they can do with it what they want.
Yep,
Um,
totally.
yeah. Yeah. So
Where are you racing these days? Uh,
Well, I would say
How
that
often and where? And
yeah, I'm definitely wouldn't consider myself a pro cross racer anymore. I think after last season, I kind of realized I'm like not really having that much fun doing it anymore. So I raced a couple times this summer. I just finished. I did the Park City Point to Point, which was a big bucket list mountain bike race for me. Tried to get into it for quite a few years and never could. And then I raced in Steamboat, did the SPT gravel. I did a couple in June, Lost and Found gravel. I did the Belgian waffle ride in San Diego, and then Mid South. I'm back in Oklahoma, so I'm still racing a fair bit. But for me now, it's like I'm picking events that I want to do, not have to do, and I'm kind of racing them in a way where I really enjoy the day. Going into it with that mindset is way better now versus having to compete and having to the pressure on it and sort of hope to survive the day kind of thing.
right,
So
right.
yeah, I definitely have become quite comfortable. It took me a while to say it, but like become quite comfortable, like not being a pro bike racer anymore and still racing in the pro races and having fun with it, and seeing all my friends and having a good day and chatting it up. But I'm kind of ready to do some other stuff. So
yeah. Yeah, I can relate. When I quit racing BMX and, you know, racing pro and then making the choice, you know, and how you talk about it,
Yeah. Yeah.
it changes,
Yep.
because there's like this shift in your approach to it. And that's a hard thing to wrestle with. At
Yeah.
least it was for me. And it sounds like you kind of experienced that too, but you got to do what makes you happy. And like, for me, it made sense to just not do it anymore when I stepped away. And it sounds like that's the case for you too. When it stops being fun, bikes are fun. So,
Yep.
just figure out how to have fun on them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
The good.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
The I I definitely followed it for a while, and it's like all I've known, it's all I've done like for forever. I started racing as a young kid, and then I would say probably professionally raced 15 years. And so I think because of my age, I'm not that old, and because of my age, everybody, you know, thinks it's been a pretty short career and I keep going. I'm like, yeah, I've done this for a long time, and I'm kind of ready to do find some new stuff. And yeah, I've definitely had the internal dialogue of trying to figure out how to say what I need to say to people, and then I'm comfortable with it. I'm cool.
Yeah.
I've said it before that not that I was ever that good, but just coming off of COVID and then working in a bike shop, and I really kind of my fitness wasn't nearly where it was, and so it was a bitter pill to swallow, right?
Mhm.
When you're not, but I signed up for some gravel events, and that's I'd come to at I had come to peace with that it was like I'm going there just because of what the fuck. I'm just going to have fun.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I had some of my best placings. I was like, well, what am I doing on the podium? It wasn't supposed to be here, but it was a completely different mindset. It was kind of, liberating in a sense, not to be stressing over, going there and having to do good or having to do this, just going there and whatever happens, happens.
Yep, it's
Yeah.
true. I've had a couple this year that I still obviously pay attention to do a little bit of the number crunching, and I pay attention to how I'm doing in the races. I'm the average speeds of all the past years are the same. The races are getting faster, but my average speeds are going up a little bit or staying the same. And it's like my fitness, I have a whole new like sort of type of fitness than I ever had before. And um, hanging out and doing more gym bro stuff and kind of gaining some size. And I'm not getting any slower, but I'm having a lot more fun. So it's like way better.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, we had Tyler, the vegan on, Tyler Pierce, a while
Mhm.
back, and I know his body's changed too, and he's talking about, he's he's embracing it also. He has to put
Mhm.
out a lot more power, and he's not as fast up the hill, but he feels better about himself in general, and he's not
Oh
just
yeah.
constantly starving himself to keep you know, his flyweight status,
Yep.
But I
Yeah. I
think
mean,
that's the thing that stuck out at me. I'm sorry to cut you off, Cody, but that's the thing that stuck out at me when he said that, and it sounds like it probably you found that sweet spot too. He said at 153, 155, he was putting out his, best watts per kilo. At 170, his numbers were the same. Numbers were different, obviously, but his times up climbs and stuff was the same. So he puts on 15 pounds, but really is still as fast,
mhm.
and that was a pretty telling thing for an eye opening and should be for a lot of cyclists, right?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I've gotten really big into running in the last little bit and love lifting heavy things in the gym and riding my bike. And I used to always, being only a bike racer, used to always have to take a month off. At the end of the season, I would stop riding my bike, and during the week, I would always take a day off, or I'd have these periods of time where I just needed a break. And I always felt a certain way. And then now, for the last 18 months ish, I would say, yeah, 18 months to 2 years, I mean, I've taken a few days off, but like I haven't taken any time off. I work out every day in a different way, whether it's run, bike, or lift. I never get burnt out. I never get tired. I feel great. I feel way better than I ever did just day to day. It's kind of funny how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
you don't do it on repeat and things get better. You start feeling better. Like I feel way better overall, which is funny too.
I think, it makes sense that your mind would feel better, right? You're not,
Mhm.
you're not doing the, you're not, "Oh, I gotta get up and do this, whatever, on my bike again."
Mhm.
I think anybody that's a cyclist kind of has that, that mindset some days, where you just get out of bed. It's like, oh, geez, all right, well, I'm doing it though.
Yep.
Um,
You always have to. I have to do this, you know?
right, right. And there's FOMO. I mean, I think when you're not doing it, a lot of times, and you're trying to be super competitive, you feel like everyone else is putting the work in, and you're screwing off, being lazy one day or whatever,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
that's always something. But I was kind of surprised, I mentioned Anna Hicks. She was on last week, and she's putting in like about 11 hours a week. She said about just a little over 10 hours a week, which
Mhm.
that's really low, you know, uh, especially to be, competing on the pro circuit. She said that she competes with people that she knows is putting in twice as much volume as she is. Um, but
Most of my friends do 11 hours a week. They're not problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
do you have any
You can
experience
get
with
a
that?
lot. Yeah. I've gone down that whole, through the whole spectrum from race or training, 25 hours a week to doing very accurate and like very responsible 12 hours.
Hmm.
And that was always more my style. I couldn't do those big miles. And I got as far as I did with just trying to be very accurate with a little bit amount of time. And I think that you can easily do that, but you have to be truthful to yourself. You have to make sure you're following exactly what, the right person, and have faith in your coach. And yeah, you can do it with very little time. I don't think you can do it in gravel racing nearly as much as say cross, because you do, like, if you want to go fast for 7 hours, you gotta train, 7 hours. You have to go that far, um, to know the stress on the body, how you're gonna feel, what you're gonna do. But you don't need to do it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I don't know. When I got into like the endurance riding, I was older. I was an older person,
Mhm.
so I don't know. Um, I don't know what it's like to be able to feel fresh. Like, to me, I'm knackered all the time, and
Because you
so
ride every day. Because you
yeah,
ride all the time. You
but I
never
do,
rest.
yes, I do a lot of volume. And there
Yep.
have been times where a force, for whatever reason, the I wasn't able to put the volume in for a week or something, and then I'll show up at a ride or a race, and I'll do really well. And I think, huh, but I still feel crappy though. Like my legs are always sore. I don't know, it's just because
Mhm.
I'm old. If that's just the case, Dave, are your legs always sore?
No, I rest. I'm not as fast, but I rest. You don't rest, Mike.
How
That's your
about
problem.
how about you, Cody? At your 12 hours a week, would you show up to the race feeling like super fresh and ready to go?
Oh yeah.
Or yeah, you didn't feel sore at
Oh,
all?
no, no, never. Yeah, I'd always be ready to go for that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And like obviously your training, because for cross, like the racing is literally like,
yeah,
it's got bookends, and it starts and you race and you're done, for the season. It's not this, one a month, two a month thing, and you got to keep training and racing. And so you'd put in a ton of volume before, and very accurate training. And once you really got into the season, you weren't training that much. You were really racing yourself into further fitness, um, because you're racing Saturdays and Sundays every day, every weekend. I mean, so you didn't have to then do a ton. I would do one day a week in the middle of the week. Usually on Tuesdays, I would do one very specific training again, and then kind of mellow the rest of the time.
right. Yeah, I was listening to Peter Attia. Do you know him? Oh,
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, but he's friends with Tade Bagash's coach, and he
Mhm.
was saying that Tade spends 80% of his time in zone two.
Yeah,
So he's just cruising. You know,
yep,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. I
that's
mean,
our friend. That
my original, like, kind of my best seasons of racing would always be like a, race Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. I'd motor pace Tuesday, mellow ride Wednesday, mellow ride Thursday, pre-ride the course and openers on a Friday. And so you're getting 3 legit hard days on a Friday, kind of getting some quick little openers in. And so, yeah, 3 out of 7 days, really.
yeah.
yeah.
When you say quick openers, What can you describe like what that is exactly?
So usually at a cross race, Fridays, there's always pre-ride. So you would spend, the second half of the day out on the course. You'd be checking the lines. You would be kind of playing around with your tires, figuring out. Like, cross is such a heavy equipment discipline. So you'd always be making sure all the bikes are good, tires are good, pressures are good. So you're making a lot of laps. And I would basically just do a couple hot laps. I'd want to know how I felt on the course. I'd want to know how my legs were feeling. And then would just, would do a lap at a time. So like 5 minutes hard, 7 minutes hard, or even short segments, just some sprints,
Hmm.
just kind of just getting the carbon blown out of the
Yeah.
system, and yeah, and getting the engine fired up again.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
openers. Yeah, that's probably not something that anybody does anymore. Because the type of racing we have, we don't need to have that. But in cross, you had to have that. Just be able
Explosive,
to,
right?
yeah, you have to be warmed up and from the gun be ready to go as that shit crazy you can.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing what like when I do whenever I get in a cross race, I know there's like this whole everybody takes off like a bat out of hell,
Oh
right?
yeah,
And that I don't do that because I don't want to
yeah,
crash. And then also that's not really like the style, even though I race BMX and that's an explosion, right? It's like a
yeah,
minute, maybe on a long
yeah,
track or be a minute, but that
yeah,
was a long time ago. And I kind of have this feeling like, well, we're going to be out here for an hour. So you can either blow yourself, get yourself into serious cardio trouble,
yeah,
trying to be the fastest guy to the whatever the first corner, or I could just kind of start like I'm going to start and then just methodically just kind of pick my way through. But I'm not racing pro. So
yeah.
I think at the pro level, you need every advantage you can get.
We had to, yeah, for us racing, you have to go from the gun, and you basically train yourself to go hard. You show up to not blow up, but you show up and you almost do blow up, and then you just hold it there. And you just
Right.
get comfortable with just rolling it right to that 95% and backing off like 91%, and you're just there all day.
Yeah.
It's not all day, luckily. It's 1 hour. That's the best part. But but yeah, for the
Yeah.
whole hour, I mean, you're just, yeah.
It's so intense, That's
Mhm.
the thing I love about it. It's like so different than the normal writing that I do. So it's cool to like go and do that and try to, just see how it goes because I'm asking something totally different of myself. And yeah, it's super fun. I love it.
Yeah. It's so technical, it's demanding, it's challenging, it's fast, it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And how about you,
What
Dave?
bikes did you have? You said equipment into. I'm like you, unfortunately. I mean, I did okay in some cross races, but I'm very much a slow starter. I mean, you can see it even when you and I go do the Dirty Summit. We turn with Crow Canyon and Camino Sahara, light turns green. You're already down by the church, and I'm still catching up. I come out slow, and I'll always have.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. But I never trained to do what Cody did. Even crits, right? Even crits were, yeah, they're only 45 minutes or an hour, but I don't know, it was just at the Cat 4, Cat 3 level, uh, no one is it even if it explodes out of the thing, it backs down really quickly, right? So you're always within the group, you know,
Mhm.
versus I always found out in cross, it was like you said, it's just this one long line and it's just like, okay, that's my next carrot. That's my next carrot. But I could never get to the front of the line because it was too long, you know?
Yeah. There's something about picking people off too that feels really good, and then all the different scenarios that take place in the course where, it's fun to like try to challenge yourself to maybe swing wide and dip low and whatever on a given corner just to, I don't know. It just keeps me a lot more entertained. And also riding from the front, there's a little bit of paranoia that I have. So yeah, if I could see the guys in the front, it's like, okay, let me just keep
Yeah.
working it. But
I know
yeah,
I never really liked racing on the front. I've always been I'll be at the front and be right everybody right in front of me. I was always comfortable with that. When I got to the front, I had to have some extreme confidence in how I was feeling that day and to feel good about it. It happened a few times, but yeah.
Yeah.
The skills, though, it is much more technical than a lot of the other. Is that something that you practice, or is that something that just came with time? Like you just knew, you just race more, and then you become very technical, or did you actually track this different technical, like the
Um,
dismount, the mount, the different corners, the uphill, the downhill, the mud, the sand?
I've always been very comfortable in technical stuff, or my technical skills are I, I think some of the best that were on the circuit, and so I've always just maybe I've trained it without even trying to train it, just because I was
Mhm.
having fun riding it that way, and it's just adapted over the time. But that's never been a challenge for me. Like that's no course, no feature, no conditions were ever made me scratch my head or get nervous. So yeah,
Yeah.
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 I used to thrive for the more challenging the better. Or I love racing in the mud. So when it would just guys would open up, I'd be like, oh yeah, baby. And a lot of people would be getting nervous about that, really starting to panic. And I'm like, no, bring it on, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. The
That's
mud's
when I
so
get back in the
unpredictable.
car. That's when I get back in the car and drive home and say,
Yeah.
I was only $50.
Yeah. Yeah. It is,
No,
it is
I
kind
used
of,
to pray for it.
yeah, it's kind of surprising because not growing up with BMX, because I keep going back to that because like when you're a kid and you're just riding your bike every single day, so when did you start riding bikes in general?
I think like properly kind of getting this whole thing started about 12.
Okay. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
was
kind of that's a little late, I mean,
yeah.
yeah, but you quickly got the skills and you started on the mountainside, so you're riding dirt trails,
Mhm,
all kinds of
mhm.
different things you're encountering that makes the cyclocross track look kind of tame, really, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I did all the kids stuff, riding bikes, just riding bikes with my buddies,
Hmm.
to get, whatever to buddies' houses. But I would say really getting into riding bikes was, yeah, probably 12 or so.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All
Yeah.
right. So you
So how's the
mentioned,
bike business? Well, I'm switching gears.
oh, now
How's the
you're gonna
bike
try to
business?
drag the thing into the dumps, Dave? Come on.
No, well, because Kinetic Cycles, I'm giving a guy, let him
All
plug.
right.
Yeah.
Hey,
How is the
before,
bike
yeah,
business? Yeah.
hang on a second here before you answer, Cody, because Cody, you're part of a specialized store. I work for Giant, and Dave runs a Trek store. So
We got all the big three here. Okay.
that's
Yeah,
right.
right.
That's right.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Normally I would say the Hatfields and McCoys, but we need a third name here, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, I think we all know how the bike business is, but it'd be good to get your perspective, Cody.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, for us, as the shop is in general, like we always want more business, but the service side of things is going really well, which means people are riding bikes, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the industry, from my perspective, and our general sales, we're still selling bikes, but I think the general sales, everybody unfortunately is at like this race to the bottom of the price barrel, and they're sitting on too much product. They're blowing it all out. And every day there's something new, new deal, new discount, new this, new that from every brand. And then it's just everybody chasing each other to the bottom. And that's what we've never done in business. And I
Yeah.
see it happening right now, and I kind of am aware of it. Obviously can't change it. That's above my pay grade, but I think
Yeah.
that's where we're at in the bike industry. I think we need to reel it back in, shut it off, and just start riding bikes and selling bikes again,
Yeah.
not giving them
Yeah.
away.
It is really hard once the discounting, that whole culture kind of gets established, people just
Mhm.
think they can come in there and just, okay, well, they'll offer you 50% of what you're asking for it. And,
Mhm.
with a straight face, it's
yeah.
like, what are we doing here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and some of them have been so massive. It's like,
Yeah.
man, we are giving these things away.
Yeah. Yeah. It cracks me up, being a rep, I get asked, sometimes like, hey, can I get an EP on this? It's just like, dude, we got
Yeah.
everything's you know, I mean, there's no discounts. Everything's discounted to the
Yeah,
absolute
to the gills.
nubs. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
it's a tough one for
yeah,
sure.
I want to stop, but yeah, I mean, in general, like the bike shop is good.
How
Overall,
long you guys been in
the
business?
17 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kudos. Chapeau,
Awesome.
that's great.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I saw online you guys are you're stocking the Enjoy team kits.
we are. Yeah. So, Vinny and the crew wanted to, I don't know, he's always come up with these crazy, kit ideas. And so, yeah, we
Yeah.
started selling them. They're selling well. People are digging them. And it's
Yeah.
just fueling more of his endeavors with the team. So yeah, we have Enjoy in the store, and yeah, pretty fun.
It's pretty cool. I mean, he is a kit making machine, this guy. I
Yep.
mean, every time I see him, I see him quite a bit. There's some new kit that, or
Oh yeah.
online, there's like every couple of days, it seems like, geez, okay, there's a burgundy one now. Okay, well, there's teal and there's
Oh yeah.
cheetah. You know, it's
Oh yeah.
just,
He comes. We get in the gym Monday mornings, and he's like, "Hey, bro," he's like, "Check this out." He's like, "What do you think about these? What do you think about these?" I feel like 10 different ones. I'm like, "Those are all sweet." I mean, there's ones that I've seen that I don't think they're ever gonna come out. I'm like, "Are you gonna make them? Are you gonna not?"
yeah,
Next Thursday, he's like, "Check this out."
yeah,
But he's out of stock of white socks. That's all I wanted was Enjoy white socks, and he
yeah,
Oh
didn't
yeah.
have them.
yeah. Well, yeah, he's a creative, Dave. It's not,
Yeah.
I don't know that, I mean, I'm sure he's got business acumen also because he is, a professional fighter and you need a certain amount of that. But yeah, he's a creative though. I think his
He's
heart
an
is
idea.
there.
He's an ideas guy.
Ideas.
I
Yep.
mean, he's got ideas for kits. He's got ideas for rides and adventures and getting guys together and building the excitement. He's got ideas for everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It has been a fun thing to be a part of. And, uh, it's cool what they've built there,
Yep.
in
Yep.
Sacramento.
It's been a lot of fun. It's funny. Like I don't know if you guys know the backstory, but like Jeremy and I grew up racing together. We we battled it out for a long time together. And then he got out of the world and then kind of came back into it. And I started riding with him and Vince a lot before the team kind of even was an idea. And we were riding and just having a good time. We did some events and we did the death ride 2 years ago now. And that was kind of where the idea got finalized that,
Oh,
they were going to start this Enjoy team. So the two of them were riding around town. Everyone's asking me, they're like, you on the Enjoy team? And I was like, I'm just like the team sidekick, like I'm not sure. I was still kind of trying to battle with myself on the bike racing side of things too. And I was like, didn't really want to sort of give up on that. And I was like, okay, I didn't give up, but so yeah, I'm team sidekick. And then all of a sudden now I'm like at the front of the front of the force with the two of them. I'm like, damn, what happened in a good
yeah.
way?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
it's such
is.
a great crew.
It's funny when I remember when I first met Jeremy, Vince came out to ride Diablo, and I was just coming off of COVID, so I wasn't feeling great, but I was excited because they were coming, and I think it was Vince's first time riding Diablo, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken. Now I'm second guessing that, but whatever. But anyway, so I was all excited, and then he says, "Oh, I got my buddy Jeremy. He used to race a long time ago, but he shut it down like 4 years ago, and he went to nursing school, and he gives me all this background, right?" And I'm thinking, okay, well, whatever. We're just going to ride up there. We'll see how it goes. And I mean, the guy just he hammered everybody. Yeah, it's like
Yeah, yeah, that's what Jeremy
I
would do. Yeah.
it was like, what was that guy's name again?
Yep. Yep.
And then we descended, and I like to go fast on the descents too, but
Yep.
not like I did when I was younger, but I still like to descend. And I was following him on the descent, and just watching his lines and everything. So it's like, man, this guy can ride.
Yeah.
And I told Fitz, I go, man, I said, if this guy gets his shit together, I mean, who knows what he could do? And he's looking at me like, what are you talking about? And I didn't realize he already had his shit together, but Vince told me that he was off the bike for 4 years.
Yeah.
So I was thinking this guy was off the bike for 4 years and just shows up, he's going to ride Diablo, and then he just,
Yeah.
rides up in 51 minutes or whatever the heck it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, but yeah, he had been riding but he took a
Yep.
long break, you know, but
Yeah, he's fun to hang out with and ride with, and he's a savage. He can do anything and everything,
yeah,
run, bike, swim, lift. He's Jeremy can crush it at all of it.
yeah. His girl looks like she could crush it too. I mean,
Yeah,
she's got bigger arms than I do.
Lauren's a savage too.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. But the cool thing about Jeremy is like he's just so unassuming, you know, he's just mild mannered. Like you would never know the guy is such I mean, I don't know what you expect from somebody, but yeah, he's just a super chill, nice guy to
Yeah,
everybody. Always got a smile and you know, he's just a great guy.
yeah. He's a man of few words. Yet he and I could
Yes.
talk for hours nonstop. But everybody always is like, "Hey, Jeremy doesn't say anything." Like, no, no, he's a pretty quiet guy.
Yeah, he is kind of quiet. Yeah, good stuff. All right, man. Well, okay. So you mentioned about some other things you want to do. Now that you've kind of put this, you put cycling into a different space. What kind of plans do you have going forward?
Um, well, on the athletic side, just my biggest thing is I've gotten into running.
Mhm.
So I ran the 50K at Mid South in Oklahoma at the gravel race. So I did the 50K
Whoa.
double, yeah, Friday, and then the 100-mile gravel on Saturday. Which that was funny. You're talking about like being relaxed. Everybody was asking me, they're like, "So how, like, what's gonna happen?" Like I'm a bike racer and I'm at this bike race, but I'm going to a run. I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like I don't know how this is gonna go. The longest I ran was 13 going into it. I got hurt going into it, and I was like, I might not be able to walk tomorrow. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna see. So I finished. I set a goal. I beat my goal. I finished, and then I woke up the next day so sore,
Yeah.
and I was like, all right, I just got to get the day rolling here, and I just got to start pedaling. And I started pedaling, and then by the end of the day, or well, at the 50-mile aid station, I find out that I'm 40 minutes up on second place in the double because I'm the bike guy. These guys are all mostly runners, or
Yeah.
it's kind of combos. And I was like, holy shit, like I'm actually doing pretty well, and I finished like right around people that I would normally finish with in just the bike race. I was like, wow, what a thing. And so yeah, so I ran the 50K. I'm running the marathon here in Sac in December. But yeah, longer distance running stuff is kind of my current excitement. Lifting is pretty big excitement. And then just putting on a couple new hats, so to say, around the shop here and diving into some more business stuff and trying to get some new growth in the store, a little bit of youthfulness and just having some yeah, more time to focus on that kind of stuff, not have a worry over my head.
Yeah. Man, running 50K. So do you have aspirations on any of this ultra? Like these guys are running like what's it that bad water thing that
Yeah.
there's 100 miles and then there's like
Yep.
what is it bad water like 230 or something, 250?
I think
Insane.
I don't know the distance. I know Badwater's down in Death Valley. I don't know the distance on Badwater, but
Yeah.
I got the bug 2 years ago. I went up and watched Western States. And I hadn't, I'd always just been exposed to cycling and cyclists. And then I got some exposure to the guys in the fight world with Vince.
Yeah.
And wanted to get some exposure to the run guys, just seeing athletes. And when I went up to watch the finish line, I was blown away. I was like, dude, these guys and girls are just rushing themselves
Hmm.
to do like they go way beyond what any cyclist does. And there's like
Hmm.
the ultra distance cyclists, but it's not at that like peak competition level. Those ultra distance guys just go and ride. Where
Hmm.
these guys are racing for 100 miles and they're still crushing it at mile 99. So I totally got the bug. Uh, so I don't know. I mean, I go and run some distance. I'm like, oh, that's long enough for me. But I wouldn't mind doing a 50 mile. We'll see how the marathon goes first. But I like to do a 50 mile.
Hmm.
And I'll keep doing some more 50Ks. Maybe one day do Western States. Who knows?
Yeah, man.
Mhm.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
is gnarly. Running's, I mean, I can't even run anymore. I used to
Yeah,
ran in high school.
it is so
Uh,
raw. It's crazy.
yeah,
It's just you.
that's what I love
It's
about it, right? I
yeah.
think that's the appeal. It's really simple.
Yep.
Just get out there and run.
Yep.
But physically,
Yeah, it's hard. It's so hard. It's so hard.
Yeah, my muscles just don't go that way. I try to run down the street because I'm in a hurry to get the mail, and I'm like, I remember there's a guy, seriously, pure cyclist, don't run, that wasn't a walker. Some guy stole something. I saw him steal something and run out the shop door, and I went after him. Now here's a guy, a homeless dude running, and his pants are falling down, right? And he's running, grabbing and pulling up his pants. I fell down twice. I couldn't catch him, right? Because my legs just didn't move that way. I remember I stumbled out of the shop, then I started going after him in the parking lot, and I stumbled again, and this guy got away. And he's running, holding my stuff, pulling his pants up that are sliding down around his ankles, and he outran me. Jesus, I'm sure if we could have kept going, I think my endurance would allow me to catch him, but my legs just don't move that way.
Yeah, this just in, Dave sucks at running.
Yeah.
You
And,
know,
and descending and
just add it to that list. No, I'm just kidding. But I tried to run a marathon the goal was I was going to run a marathon by age 30. So at 28, I started like really running, and I was heavier then. Like I had two young kids. I was coaching, I wasn't like on my bike a lot. So I started running at 28, and I started losing weight, and things were going good. And then I had a buddy of mine, he ran at, he was like a D1 runner, Danny Gabor. He actually died in that plane crash. Really sad. But Danny, I was talking to him about it, and I said, hey man, I think I'm going to run a marathon when I'm 30. That's my goal. He's like, oh, that's a great goal. I said, well, what kind of advice do you have for me? He says, don't focus on mileage. Don't focus on distance at all. Just worry about time. So he says, and don't try to crush your time in 1 week. So don't start off with 15 minutes and then next week you're doing 45 minutes. He's like, just do baby steps and just work on the time. Don't worry about any of that stuff, how fast you're going, nothing. And so I thought that was pretty good advice. And so I got, that's what I did. And so I got to where I ran to Del Valle and back. And that was the route I took. It was like 26 miles, or no, excuse me, 13 miles, not 26 miles. What the heck am I talking about? It was 13 miles. And when I got back, my hips were like on fire. And so I went to a doctor and so I didn't do anything. I iced them, and then I waited a while, and then I started running again, and then the hips came back, and it was just like this problem now all of a sudden. And so then I went to the doctor, and then he said, oh, well, you probably have osteoporosis or something. And then, and it just bummed me out. I was just like, okay. So I don't know. I just got soft on the whole thing. I just like, okay, well, maybe running's not for me. So
Yep.
I bailed on it at that point. But yeah, I did run in high school, and I think it's awesome. And I know how much, I don't know because I haven't done it, but I have a pretty good idea. I feel like how hard it is to keep going, because even on that 13 miles, when I got to the house, like the last little bit of it is just like, oh my God,
Yeah. There's no coasting. There's no stopping.
That's right.
In the run in March, I wanted to run straight through the marathon distance, so I did. And when I got to the 26.2, I was like literally like 0.2, I'm gonna walk. And I got to this hill and I started walking, and it felt no different. Like my feet still hurt every impact, my knee still hurt every impact. And I was like, okay, so now I'm just losing time because it's feeling the same. I'm not getting any rest here. So I got back running again. I did it one more time. I was like, just keep running. It doesn't feel any different. You're doing There's no coasting like on the bike. You get tired, you stop pedaling.
Yeah. Do you know this the David Goggins? You know this guy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. So I always think about Goggins, even though I don't run, but like, I ride in the mornings early and then get out of bed. And some days it's just like, oh God, I think about him where he says, I just sat there on my bed looking at those fucking shoes for 30 minutes. it's just stuff like that, he's so, I mean, he's so hard, but
Oh
he
yeah.
does, I mean, I think there's a lot of universal truths in a lot of his stuff,
Oh
that,
yeah.
and,
You gotta
I
stay
just,
hard.
yeah, stay hard. I just think that, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'd like to try running again. I have to see. I don't know.
You, yeah, you start small. That's all you got. We got a
That's right.
crew for the
I
marathon. It seems
got
like more and more I talk about it, more and more my friends want to do it. So we're gonna have a good crew out here this year. It'll be a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Who knows? It could be Enjoy Run Club.
Oh, we're gonna have an enjoy presence out there for sure. Yep. Yep. We're
I'm
gonna have a
sure
presence
Vinny's
out there
working
for
on it
sure.
right now.
Oh, probably working on some pair of shorts for us to wear. Watch.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
three of the guys, three, no, more than that, probably five of the guys on the team are gonna do it, and I've got three other friends coming out from the bike world to do it too. So it's gonna be fun.
All
Some
right.
friendly competition, some smack
Yeah.
talking. It's gonna be great.
All right. So we're talking about two of the three disciplines of another sport. Do you have any aspirations of taking that? Okay.
Nope, that one where you get in the water. Nope,
Yeah. All right.
nope, no.
Yeah.
I have no interest in swimming. I have no interest in triathlon.
Yeah. Right. I'm a horrific swimmer, man. I
Oh
suck in the water.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I keep the two independent, and that's it.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, Cody, it's been great having you on, and it's cool to learn about your past. Like I said, we've known each other kind of in passing, and yeah, it's just great to kind of hear the backstory, what made Cody Kaiser.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. This is a fun conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Likewise. Well, yeah. Well, I'll let you get back to it, but yeah, if anybody wants to follow along with you, how would they do that? Because I know you
Find
have a YouTube, right?
I do. I don't put much on YouTube anymore. I burned myself out on that too. I was daily vlogging every day for 2.5 years and
Oh my
made a lot
God.
of videos. So yeah, if you want to go
Right.
watch a lot of YouTube, I got plenty on the channel, but I'm not doing much on there anymore. But
Okay.
everywhere is just at the Kid Kaiser. So yeah, the Kid
Okay.
Kaiser is always in my nickname, and you can find me everywhere on that.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks again, man. It's great having you, and I look forward to seeing you at Rodeo Cross and some of the other local events in the future.
Yep,
Uh,
I'll be at the local cross races.
yeah. Awesome. All right, Dave. You got anything? We're wrapping it
Oh,
up.
it was great and chat with you. Yeah, and Mike, yeah, I'm sure if you go up there and race against him, you've got a chance. So good
Not a
luck.
chance in hell. Yeah. No.
But yeah, Cody, it was great to meet you, and yeah, continued much success with your running. I don't understand it, but much success.
Yep,
Yeah.
it'll
Yeah.
be good. It'll be good.
All right. All right. We're going to wrap it up. Thanks for listening, everybody. Appreciate you.